5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's the new Panic Room. It's the show other shows want to be, and the show that authors want to be on.
Well, it is. It's Thursday night, 9:30 Central, and it's the new Panic Room episode 143. Wow, 140. I mean, we've done 142 of these before this one, so there's a bit of mental arithmetic there for you. So, I'm gonna have Mister. I'm gonna bring her on. I'm gonna bring straight on.
Come on, I'm with you.
Well, yeehaw, Xtina. How are you this evening? That's exciting. These guys say we're a bit of a sort of a Southern States show tonight. We've got, I understand our first guest is from Texas, and obviously that's, as you can tell from the accent, that's exactly where I'm from. And you're from sort of redneck country, really, sort of.
I am, yeah. And I get this huge smile on my face now every time the music starts up. Which is just insane, because I used to cringe. I used to be like, oh dear God, playing that again. And now I'm like, yes, so.
Well, there you go. It's exciting.
It's
exciting. And I was just thinking, actually, the opening tune, which to be fair is one of my favourite songs ever. And I sort of remember that the movie, the biopic of Bobby Darin, was actually from Beyond the Sea, I think it was called. And Bobby Darin was actually played by Kevin Spacey, who actually did all the singing, and he was brilliant. So if you get a chance to watch it, thank you, Kevin Spacey, for ruining Bobby Darin for me. So
I like Kevin Spacey. I do.
I do. Apart from his, touching people sort of thing. Apart from all of that, it's like similar to be fair. I enjoy Subway, but Jared from Subway sort of spoilt meatball marinara a little bit, but I still eat.
Yeah, no, definitely. Like the Cosby Show. Come on now, I grew up on the Cosby Show, but
Yeah.
I would not want to share a bowl of pudding with Bill or anything, but I did like the show.
You wouldn't go out for a drink with him, would you? But,
no.
Well, it's like in England, there's a whole raft of them in England. I mean, one of my, I don't mention before, played his tunes on the show, Gary Glitter. My big childhood pop hero from the era of glam rock. Everyone wants to be Gary Glitter, who's now actually still. He's doing time for having sex with underage girls. He did time in Vietnam for having sex with underage girls. So a bit of a theme.
Wow.
It's funny, actually, because somebody posted on some Facebook group, and if you like Gary Glitter's music, it means that you're a paedophile. And I went back and said, I'll stand. I think Rock and Roll Part 2 is probably one of the best tunes ever written. So no, I'm not. I like it's like the whole thing with Michael Jackson. You can still admire the man's music, even though it was a raging kiddie film. Allegedly, if Michael Jackson's boys are listening, he got how the hell he got off. Well, we know he got off, with little boys mostly, but how he got off the charges, we'll never know. And there's a whole raft, there's a whole bunch of them in England. There was Rolf Harris, Jimmy Savile, who was a famous DJ. He was actually credited with inventing the discotheque back in the 50s and 60s. He was one of the first to take a record player to a dance hall and stand and play records.
Cool.
Yeah, back in the days when it was all live fans and that. So there you go. But speaking of music, we were listening to Queen earlier today, and what was that? Bohemian Rhapsody. I watched the movie, and it was really good. And then you enjoyed that, yeah?
Yeah, I definitely did. But then, like a couple weeks later, I think it was, we watched The Dirt. It was the Motley Crue movie, and I heard that is pretty good, actually. It was. I was so surprised. I mean, I wasn't a huge Motley Crue fan, even though I totally fell in love with Nicky Sixx after he wrote that book, The Heroin Diaries. I sure loved that. But, I didn't really expect too much going into the movie, and I was pleasantly surprised. In fact, that'll probably be one that I watch again. And
I may watch that. Like you, I've never been a massive fan, but I do like a good biopic. I mean, I thought the Bohemian Rhapsody one was kind of sugar coated a little bit, and they skirted over a few things, and it was. I love the music. I'm actually looking forward to Rocket Man. Which a lot of Donald Trump probably thinks is a biopic of Kim, but it's not Donald. Thoughts and prayers, Donald. No, it's a biopic of Elton John, who is fantastic. Again, I remember him from we used to listen to remember when rock was young, etc. Listen to Crocodile Rock back in the day, and Elton John. He's brilliant. I saw him live a few years ago, and he was fantastic. Big fan. So I'll be interested to see how sugar-coated that is, to be honest. Because they have a tendency to do that, and it kind of... Definitely. But again, it's one of those things, they do it to fans who want to go and, listen to the music. And like the Queen one was phenomenal. You enjoy Queen music and reliving that. I remember the Live Aid. You're probably far too young, actually. I remember the Live Aid. I remember I was actually... university at the time, sat all day Saturday and watched it, even into the night when they switched over to Phil Collins' Flu on Concorde, and he performed both in the UK and in America, at both venues. It was phenomenal. It was just wow. But Queen just stood out. I mean, their set on Live Aid was just something else. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, no, I would definitely. I don't know if I was actually too young, but I will say that, that time when, I was only allowed to listen to Christian music. Did I tell you that? I couldn't have anything secular in the house. Like a really religious house.
You're only allowed to do what now?
I could only listen to Christian music.
Oh, really? My goodness me.
I know. So I I remember.
Awful.
I remember being so embarrassed. The kids at school would be like, "What radio station do you listen to?" And they'd have some cool one, Wild FM, or I'd be like, 88 AM, because that's where the Christian station was. And they would laugh at me.
I would have bullied you mercilessly. Seriously.
I was bullied when I was younger.
So why do parents put their children through that? Why do they do that? Because all you do, you're literally setting them up to be victims. Really, you might as well, tattoo the forehead with "Please thump me," I'm different. It's just like, don't do that. It's they're not paying. Oh, I only let my kids listen. Well, you're restricting them. It's like, it's funny. It's probably how I ended up how I am. My mother used to hate me reading horror books.
Mm-hmm.
And so I used to read them anyway. I was just to sneak them, and if she found them, I'd get into trouble. And it's like, don't censor what you I mean, within reason, people, certainly this day and age. But it's books for crying out loud, And it wasn't like she caught me reading pornography because I used to hide that really well. But it's about, like I've said before. I mean, James Herbert's The Rats was one of the first books, the first grown-up horror book I ever read. And she went absolutely hairless. I actually borrowed it off a friend of mine. Absolutely hairless. And his mum used to borrow them after him. Actually, he'd go buy these horror books, and because she was a big reader, big horror fan, and she would sit and read them after him, or she'd go and get them, and then he'd read them. So. But yeah, maybe that's that's how I am today. But there's certain things I wouldn't want my children reading or watching, obviously. But within reason, I don't have a problem.
I shared with you what my son's reading, and I would never censor anything he's reading, but he tries to get me to participate. And Mom, do you want me to read to you? Mom, would you read to me? And oh my goodness! After a page of what he's reading, I have no idea what's going on. I can
but
feel
you are
my
supposed
eyes.
to read. And we've said this before. I like with my books that I've given you. You haven't bothered to read. If you read more than one page, you can pick up on what it's about.
Yeah. I'm going to. Yeah.
You.
You know what?
If you want to know what's happening in a book, read all of it.
Well, I'm listening to the audio right now of Tenebrian, and I have to say, I've read the book too, which for me, it, I don't know, it makes it better for me because I know what's going on, and I have an attention span problem, so when I'm doing the audio, yeah, I know, it's hard to believe, isn't it? And so when I'm listening to an audiobook that I have no idea what it's about or anything, it's really hard for me to pay attention. 10 minutes will go by and I'm like, shit, I have no idea what's going on. But with it, when I've read the book already, that makes it even better for me. I can enjoy the experience much better. So
yeah, I'm pleased you're enjoying it. I've never really been I don't know, I've just listened to a whole audio, but I've only really started listening to bits when Hellbound started doing audiobooks. And the problem is for me, for listening to something, it's something I do when I'm doing something else. But because I'm working most of the time, I couldn't listen to what was going on and concentrate on it because my brain would be focusing on that and what I was doing. And again, I have a focus problem. I'm so easily distracted. It's unbelievable. I'm just, honestly, always have been. Haven't changed since I was a wee one. Anywho, speaking of being distracted, do we have a show this evening, or are we just going to natter for an hour and a half?
Yeah, this funny thing, I was just looking at the time thinking, I wonder how long we're just going to, talk, but we could do a whole show just us talking. So, but we do have a show. I'm very excited. We have our first guest. Yeah. Our first guest tonight is humor/satire author Jay Williams. Woo. And the second half of the show, I will be talking a little bit about my newest book that comes out tomorrow. So,
excellent. So I'll probably, if I nod off through the second half, then I apologise in advance. It could happen. So I think we should bring Jay. He's been waiting all very patiently. Bless. I should bring him on. You can introduce him.
Okay. Our first guest is humor/satire author Jay Williams. Woo!
Hello.
Hey. Oh, hi there.
Hey.
How you doing?
We're good. You're in Austin. Oh, we're neighbours. Hi, diddly ho, neighbourino.
Hey, I guess I really should be saying howdy or something like that. So howdy
there, y'all. I mean, yeah, because obviously I You can tell I'm Texan, obviously, but Austin is, relatively speaking, just down the street from where I am. So, in Texas terms, obviously.
Right, in Texas terms, because that's the thing. I lived in, or went to high school in El Paso, and it's actually shorter to go from El Paso to LA than it is from El Paso to, say, Dallas and all that. So, or it seems that way anyway. So it's kind of crazy and all that. We're so big and all that. So yeah, you could be a neighbor, but that could be 100 miles away or something like that. So,
well, I'm in Houston, which is 3 hours away. I think there's a toss up between whether Austin or San Antonio is closest, but I think they're both over 3 hours away. So, but you know, coming from England, where everything is like an hour away, you know, it's like half an hour away. It's just like, I remember when I first got here, and I thought, right, I've been a big Dallas fan. So I want to go see South Park, I want to see Dallas. It's like, you know, we'll jump in the car, we'll be there in and out. No.
No. Yeah. Actually, I've been to England a number of times too, and I want to say I brought Texas with me there because before I went to England, you know, everybody said, "Oh, it's going to rain there every day and all that." And so I get there, and of course it's sunny almost every day and it's hot, and it's like, what? What's going on here? I had this big umbrella and raincoat and rain gear, and didn't get
they had a spectacularly hot year last year, and early part of this year as well. You had spring sort of happened early, and they had some, and then it goes from that to suddenly subarctic in like, you know, within a couple of days. Suddenly there's an Arctic cold front coming over, and everybody's freezing. You know, old people are freezing to death and all that sort of thing. So, here in Texas, it doesn't do anything like that. It just goes from semi-warm to a little bit warmer, and then hot and extreme hot. In other words, it doesn't really cool down. So no, Houston, it's hot, a little bit cooler, hot. And of course, we're now getting into that time of the year when it's really starting to get hot now. You're starting to feel it, and yeah. I tend to stay in. I'm like a little hermit this time of year. I just don't come back out again until about October. That's all right. So, Jay, you're here to talk to us about your book, Sex and the American Male. Great tagline. The funny satirical ebook about modern American society. So, I'm intrigued. Tell us a bit more about it. Well, it's the title itself is supposedly humorous or satire too, because when I was writing the book, the working title was Zach's American Dream, something like that. But then I was thinking, when people buy things, through advertising and all that, they're turned on by, sex or something like that. If it has anything to do with sex, and I said, well, that's kind of bizarre. My book has a lot of jabs at advertising and all of it. So I said, well, how about this? How we make the underlying story? Oh, it's sex in the American male. And supposedly the publisher is saying, yeah, we can do this. We can sell a whole bunch of books this way, and by changing the title. And so I say, reluctantly go along and do that. That's all made up, of course. I didn't have the publisher say that. I came up with the idea. And sounds good. And so that's sort of the underlying theme is, we're using this to try to lure people in to read this lurid book and all that, and it doesn't have anything to do with sex at all. And the main character does every now and then think about sex. Like he in one chapter, he's going to a national park and he's hoping to spend the night in the double sleeping bag with his girlfriend and things like that. But nothing really happens exciting or lurid and all that. So if people are drawn to it by the title "Sex" and the American Male, I guess I sort of accomplished my goal here and all that. Although truthfully, I've also had some bad luck with it too. I have a Facebook page with that title, Sex and the American Male, and it has like 2,500 likes on it. And most of them seem to be from the Near East or Asia or something like that. And what they're doing is they're obviously typing in Google sex, and my book's coming up. And so they go there, like it. And so I get all sort of weird comments from them, things like that. So
if any of your listeners are out there, please like my page, and not because of you're looking for sex, okay? So, I think the Facebook page is kind of fun because I half the time, of course, I'm promoting the book. The other time, I'm just putting goofy pictures on there too. So that's the thing. So, but I do think the book is really good. The start has a foreword. It's like an ode to Douglas Adams. Who's one of my favorite.
Excellent! Great guy.
He's great. And that's the thing. I started writing this about the time he died, and so I think, well, I should make an ode to Douglas Adams by writing a book that basically is the Hitchhiker's Guide to American Culture. So.
I like it.
So, yeah. So I give, and I try to make it sound a little bit like him in some respects too. I mean, obviously you can't, I don't think, but so do that. So anyway, the main character's name is Zach Hardiman, and he has all sorts of weird things happen to him during the course of the book. He goes crazy early on in the book because he gets just overwhelmed by advertising, because we are overwhelmed by advertising. I mean, we just take it for granted. It's just all sort of sitting there and all that. And so one day the little microbes in his head, and the microbes are main characters in the book, I should point out. They help him go crazy, and they sort of fall out of his head, and they start doing break dancing around him and making fun of him and all that. So the microbes are kind of goofy in there too. So, but all sorts of interesting things happen in the book. From advertising, it gets interrupted by a football game breaks out within the book, and that's the football game is really a satire on American politics, and the book is also interrupted by a Star Trek convention advertisement. So there's all sorts of weird things that happen in the book. So I think it's kind of fun. Hopefully people get it, and hopefully the big selling point though is they'll be able to say, hey, it's a short book. It's only 100 pages, so it'll be pretty good.
Now, is that the normal genre that you write in? Is humor or satire?
Well, I do a lot of short stories that are humor and satire, but I have actually a number of other books, and that's the thing. I like to try out different genres. Not that I think I'm a great author or something like that, but I think that it's kind of fun to explore things. So I also have a book called Tax Break, which is sort of a crime mystery book about a guy who plants a bomb in the IRS. Wings of Honor is a aviation and action adventure book, and my most recent one is sort of a more contemporary book called Riding Trash and Hunting Buffalo.
Oh wow!
And it's a really interesting book. It's probably my most complicated book. If you read it, you might not catch all that's going on there, because there's a lot of underlying, I hate to say psychology and things like that, but this guy is sort of he's a Vietnam vet who writes gossip in Hollywood. He calls it trash, and he's had all these horrible things happen to him, and so I don't ever say it in there, but he sort of has PTSD, and he puts up all these walls to keep people away, and all these people, all the characters in there have these certain scars. They have these visible scars, and it's to represent you've got these psychological scars. So as you can see, it's complicated. So yeah, I've tried a whole bunch of different things. And but my favorite is humor satire. I like doing that. That's, like I said, I do a lot of short stories that are humor satire.
Yeah, it was interesting when you said that you might not get a lot of what's going on or whatever. When I'm reading a book, there's this one post that goes on Facebook every so often, and it says when a writer writes that the whatever it is was blue, and of course a professor is going to be like, what do you think the writer was really talking about, and whatever, and you're like, it was blue, and that's the way I am when I'm writing. Some people are like, did you get the symbolism? No, I didn't. It was blue. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I studied English later at school, it kind of spoke literature for me, because they used to pick, and he was thinking this and he meant that, and I said, well, did he though? Like you say, if the curtains are blue. I mean, again, being a writer, and it's funny for me. Sometimes it's even more fundamental than that, because sometimes just the word blue, again as an example, It just is the right word.
Yeah.
They have to.
Yeah.
It couldn't, because it just looks better on the page than any other word. And sometimes I will pick a word out just how it is. And it's something that Stephen King mentions in his book On Writing. About it's as important as how it looks. And I tell this to authors that we see, but you get it's something just these big pages of blocks.
Yes.
And my brain just starts switching off. And no, because break it up. I'm a big fan of the one-line paragraph. The paragraph with 3 words in it. And, sling some dialogue in it, and just break it up, because there's a difference between looking at that just big chunk and then seeing it all night. I guess it's a psychological thing. It makes it more fun to read. So if any authors are listening, pay attention.
Yeah.
I do.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You. I mean.
Okay, well, I was about to say I'm with you on that because over the years I've gotten where it sort of bugs me a lot when authors just go paragraph after paragraph about describing things, and I know that's good. Like there's some books like I love spy adventures like by Ludlum and all those guys, but it just gets too much. I start to skim it and get to the exciting parts a lot of times. I hate to say that's my writing these days is getting to be that point too, where I'm writing and saying, well, is anybody going to read this? Well, if I just skip ahead really fast, and they know what a tree looks like. Why do I have to describe that? So
exactly. And I'm of the same school, Jay. I like, for me, the challenge is how can I set this scene and describe what needs to be described in as few words as possible. Without being too minimalist. You don't have. And I mentioned I was picking on poor Anne Rice. I tried to read one of her books a couple of years ago, and I got to like the 9th page of description about New Orleans. Nothing happened. It was just her describing New Orleans. It was like, okay, I've been. I know what it's like, and you don't need 9 pages. Just don't do that. In fact, I remember Richard Adams wrote. Watership Down. He wrote another book, one of it that came out of Watership Down, so they called The Plague Dogs. It was a big, fat, thick book, and I was about 10 or 11 at the time, and I had it bought for me as a birthday present. And because it's a good story about 2 dogs who escaped from an experimental laboratory, and they're thought to have been experimental on plague, hence the title, and their escape across the Yorkshire moors. And there's page upon page upon page of describing the Yorkshire moors. I mean, the heather is purple. We get that. You don't need 9 pages to say how purple the heather was, the different shades of purple. And seriously, okay, they're on the moors, it's purple, right, let's get on with the story, should we? And I reckon that book could have been, it was like 600 pages, it could have been half that, really, just cut out all the, because you end up flicking through it. He spent hours poring over this, each word and what have you, just for people to skim through it to get to the exciting bit. So it's a bit of a tragedy, really.
Yeah, that's true. I have I guess a meme of Ernest Hemingway quote, and it just says, "Be brief." That was one of his things. And, I think that's really good for writers to think about that.
Well, definitely. Stephen King can get away with it. I mean, I would read, if he was describing his, tidy whities for a page, I'm sure I would be, enthralled. But it's not like that for everybody, and everybody's not Stephen King. And,
he has a knack. I think his style. I'm the same. His style just draws you in and carries you along. And I think is my second favourite King book. And again, that's a big old weighty tome. It is too. But I loved. The story about the supernatural. But it was almost like you don't really need that. Let's just spend time with the characters. And I loved that. Absolutely loved that. I liked the relationship with the kids and them way more than the creepy clown. For me, it didn't even really need that. I was more invested in the
the interactions with the kids.
It could have been. It's like what was it? The Body, which became Stand By Me, which was just a great. I mean, the Body was like that was what they call it in the movie trailer, MacGuffin. It was just like a. It was just a point to which they were going. It really said, "I'm just walking." But the relationships he wove between the characters was just unbelievable. The Body was just really there as a mechanism, just an excuse to bring all these characters together. And that's what I like about when he does that. He does it incredibly well. Yeah.
I agree.
Well, Jay, I want to hear more about sex in the American male. Do you have a reading for us?
Oh, I do, and it's the Cliff Notes of Sex in the American Male. And now, if I read this, anybody who's listening who's thinking about buying the book can't cheat, and just use this as an example of the thing. So the Cliff Notes, because what Cliff Notes are, right? They're little ways to cheat. You don't read the whole book; they just summarize things. And so I thought when I was writing it, I thought, hey, maybe I could do that. And I can sort of make fun of that too, and make fun of me sort of doing it too. So this is the title of the chapter is called Zach's, and in parentheses, not sex, Cliff Notes. Registered trademark, by the way. And that's not the correct spelling, but Cliff Notes too. Thank you. And I say Zach because, of course, that was the original title. So let me go ahead and read it. Hopefully you guys can stand this, and hopefully I don't stumble over the words too much. Is okay if we go ahead and start?
Yes, sir. Tell you.
Okay. I'll admit that when I was in high school and the teacher told me to read Moby Dick, I turned to the notorious Cliff Notes. Heck, I wanted to read stories about football players or hockey games, not some old story about a big old white fish. Now that I'm older, more mature, and writing books, I realize that Moby Dick is great literature, just like old spinster Stevens said. Really. I have even gone back and read it on my own. Anyway, I realize that somewhere out in this great expanse of the United States, some enlightened English teacher has assigned this book to some poor schmuck who really wants to look at the Playboy he's hidden under the mattress from Mom. Hey, believe me, that's not a good hiding place. Anyway, so I'm going to help you. Below is a quick summation of the book so you can write a good book report and get an A in that boring old English class. I'll provide a few details, and it's up to you to provide the bullshit filler to make the report required number of pages. If you can't do that, you are an untrained high schooler who is in deep doo-doo. Ask a senior for help. This help comes with a stipulation. I expect you to dig this book out of some dusty box years from now when you're more attuned to great literature and really read the whole book. I mean, if I can read Moby Dick, yes, Mom, I really did, then surely you can read this thin book. So check out these short notes, write that great report, and go get your copy of Sporting News and check on the latest stats of your favorite hockey player. Here's a chapter-by-chapter synopsis of Zach's American Dream, or Sex in the American Male. Chapter 1. Basically, all you need to know for writing that paper is that Zach went crazy when his brain overloaded due to an abundance of advertising images. You might also throw in how the breakdancing microbes as they show up later in the book. Chapter 2. The publisher tries to placate the public for the previous advertisement bombardment. Chapter 3. Zach goes looking for a car. The author, me, tries to make fun of America's psychotic fascination with autos, the Freudian lust for power, but low MPG, machines regardless of environmental concerns. He also attempts to show how Detroit is more concerned with making bucks than making a useful auto. Chapter 4. The author interrupts the book and includes sports to try to lure sports fans into reading further. It's actually a political satire on the uselessness of American politics. Chapter 5. Okay, this is getting boring. I mean, if you didn't read the book, you probably don't want to read about every chapter. So here's what you need to write a good paper. Just include a statement like, the author attempted to show how America has become saturated with inane advertising, has been battered into submission of mediocrity in the pursuit of greedful materialism, and has lost its soul in its futile attempt to find happiness in material possessions. Your teacher will eat this up. Throw in a whatever now and then to show you caught on to the author's use of irony to show how whenever America is confronted with anything it can't deal with, it surrenders. Whatever. For extra points, you might also mention how the microbes are the only true honest characters in the book. For although they repeatedly cause Zach to go crazy, they're at least true to their real nature. Well, if they were real. Oh, and don't forget to point out how the author interrupts his writing with asides and comments to make fun of America's intelligence, its lack of an attention span past 10 seconds, and its fascination with the MTV-style glitter and glam that masquerades as American celebrity. If all else fails, and you are consumed with writer's block and can't push that paper to the required length, to throw in how you are following the author's example of questioning the status quo, and you refuse to obey the dictates of a repressive teacher who bows down to the dictates of corrupt education system. The teacher will love this BS and forgive at least one page of essay. Now go write that paper and get back to something important like watching the Oakland Raiders or Detroit Red Wings, whatever. Hey, and don't forget to include that Cliff is a namby butt. Asterisk. Before you start shouting lawsuit, let me explain. I know Cliff very well. In fact, I had a beer with him just last week. We're great friends. When I mentioned writing this edition, he didn't show any interest. Too lowbrow for him. He would have been embarrassed to do this one. Why, if he were to walk into one of those snobby parties he frequents, he'd be laughed out of his effete, prudish social circle. In fact, that wimpy Cliff would probably run away like a little girl and cry to his mommy about how the mean old social prima donnas made fun of him. So now that I think about it, I'm sorry I slipped him that $100 to let me use his name in my notes. I'm sorry I didn't just smack him when he said he didn't synopsize books written by hacks. As far as I'm concerned, he can bring it on. You hear me, mama boys? You want to sue me? Well, you don't have the balls. I'd wipe the courtroom with you. Publisher's note. Our lawyers tell us we have to interrupt this footnote to apologize to Cliff and his note empire. We're really, really, really sorry the author spit in your beer the other day and said all those nasty things. We also hope that $50 we gave you will be enough to forget this whole incident and that, oh, what the hell, you are a namby butt. The end.
I love that.
That was, yeah, I mean, for me, I was thinking, obviously, Douglas Adams, but I think there's just certainly an element of Monty Python in there as well.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're a Monty Python fan.
Very much so, and in fact, it's funny you mentioned that. I was going to say if I could sneak this in. I was thinking before this interview. I was thinking maybe I could sneak this in. A long time ago, I was thinking about even some about my short stories that I want people to read them. And if you make them really long, as we talked about, and all, well, they're not going to. And I thought, well, it needs to be like the Monty Python sketches. And so that's sort of what I do a lot of times. So I try to make these sort of goofy, quick, fun things to read and all that. So hopefully,
yeah, and I think the self-referential as well. Where, I mean, there's some of my favourite Python sketches where, they, like you say, where they would be making fun of themselves within the joke as well, which was I was thinking Python, big Python fan. Obviously, grew up. We used to be on a Thursday night on BBC Two, and then Friday would all be doing Ministry of Silly Walks and reciting the sketches at school the next day. I used to be quite good at the Cleese Silly Walk, but not anymore. He's actually got two artificial hips because of that.
Wow.
In later life, I had to have both of his hips replaced. Yeah.
Oh well. I can believe it. Those
well worth it. Yeah, I mean, it was just, and he carried it on with Faulty Towers as well, and obviously with all the live shows. So he just wore his hips out, bless him. But yeah, we used to do all of that, and the teachers used to despair, be walking down the corridor doing all that. But then you see kids, walking down the school hallway now, and they've got their nose stuck in the bloody cell phone. Do some silly walks, kids.
Yeah.
Recite some Python. Do something other than check your fucking Facebook status. And again, I know I've shown my age. I mentioned Facebook to my kids, and they can be, really, Dad, you old fart. Facebook. I dare even mention MySpace. They wouldn't even know what that is. Is that still going? Is MySpace still going?
I've heard it is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know who's on it anymore, but yeah, I definitely.
Tom, he's probably just Tom. He was a good friend of mine on Facebook, MySpace.
I like Tom. I miss Tom.
Well, no, I mean, I'm I try to keep up. I mean, as Hellbound Books, we have an Instagram page and Twitter, but there's all these Snapchat there, and all these. There's like a new one every day. So, and the kids are. My son doesn't even have a Facebook. I don't think he's ever been on Facebook. He doesn't have a Facebook page or anything.
Yeah.
My daughter just sniggers at me when I mention Facebook. I feel so old.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's amazing how fast these things come and go.
Indeed. Yeah.
So in the excerpt that you read, Jay, you mentioned sports. Anything other than football you like?
That I like, or that is in the book?
Yeah, that you like.
That you like. No, I love all sports actually, and in fact, I thought it was, of course, obviously as a little kid, I thought I was going to be a great athlete. I'll play on a professional baseball team or something like that. So as a kid, you play every sport. So I played baseball and football and things like that, but I didn't do that great in organized sports because I just didn't like people telling me what to do. No. But interestingly enough, I got a degree in physical education and journalism. I got it in physical education because I really love sports and all that. So I do always have played a lot of sports and enjoy them a lot, watching them and all. And probably besides football, hockey's my other big thing. As I mentioned, I dropped the Detroit Red Wings in there. I had to get their name in there, so I like all sports.
I was hoping you'd bring up more baseball so James couldn't mute me when I got excited about baseball. But we'll have to talk about this on the next time you show up, so that we'll plan it ahead of time so we can talk baseball and.
Well, that's the thing. I could talk about one of my other books called Tax Break, the one with the guy who puts a bomb in the IRS. He gets in a fight in Canada because he's running away from the law, and he goes up to Canada, and he gets in a fight with some Canadians up there because he loves baseball, and all they want to do is talk about hockey. So there's baseball in that book too. So we can talk about that and get going on baseball.
Awesome. We definitely will have to do that the next time we have you back. So
I think I'm actually off that week, so sorry, you guys can go right ahead. That's great.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think we're just about out of time for our first segment, and but you do have to promise to come back.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to come back sometime and talk about baseball or Monty Python or how. A guy with an English accent is living in Texas and all that. So,
a long story.
I think
it'd be fun.
Tell us where we can find you online, Jay.
Well, as James said, to sell books, you had to have a presence here and there. So I'm in a number of places. Of course, I got a Facebook page, but you might not like my personal Facebook page because for the last couple of years, for some reason, I've been putting lots of politics on it. So I do. On my personal Facebook page, I do politics, I do book promos, I put goofy pictures of cats on there and all that, so it's a mixture. But I also have a Facebook page for each of my books. I'm also on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, and truthfully, I'm not sure I understand why people like Twitter. I only go on there to basically promote my books. So I'm on there, put the weird promo on the book, and I get off. So if Donald Trump is saying something on Twitter, I'm not going to know about it unless I hear it on the news. So it's there, and it's sort of weird. And I have another one too. I'm on Instagram. I finally got on Instagram, but again, like Twitter, about the only thing I do is I sort of plot pictures of my books in there and little blurbs to try to lure people into my books. And so the only thing I really use readily is probably Facebook because maybe an older guy. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jay. Yeah, I'll get your links put up on our Facebook page. So if anybody wants to stalk you, they can go there and do that. And I will definitely be getting in touch with you to have you back on the show because we had a great time. And Yeah, thank you.
Well, I really appreciate you inviting me on. It's been fun, and it's been fun talking to you and listen to your comments about pedophilia and music. So it's fun. So good luck with your show, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. Hey, no problem.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you again very soon.
All right, sounds great.
Okay,
Bye.
Good night. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And we will be right back after this.
Panic Room Radio Show is sponsored by Hellbound Books, purveyors of all manner of dark fiction. You can find the publisher along with links to all their available works across platforms at hellboundbookspublishing.com. Hellbound Books is proud to be the first in the indie publishing business with a very own app on both Google Play and the App Store. In the mood for something steamy to read, check out new erotica author Jennifer Lynn's website at jenniferlynnerotica.com. You can find James at his website, www.jameslongmore.com, and Xtina has an author page found on the Hellbound website. Don't forget to follow the Panic Room Radio Show on social media. Our Facebook page, Unofficial The Panic Room Radio Show, Twitter at Panic Room Radio, our YouTube channel, The New Panic Room Radio Show, and come visit our website at www.panicroomradio.com.
Oh, come on, cheer, miserable. Oh, do you know you can't get the staff? Xtina, speaking of which, Xtina, are you there, my dear?
I am. The funny thing is every time the song starts to die down, I panic just a little bit, thinking you're not going to, because you have to go take your wee. Who knows? It could take a year or something for you to come back. And I would actually, have to speak first. And my mind draws a blank. I'm like, what would I babble on about? And so I go through a brief panic every single week at
well, I remember the one and only time we tried with you doing the show, and I think we actually abandoned it because you were just, with all due respect, you were hopeless.
Well, the bad thing is I had a piece of paper with a whole script, and I read it over and over again. I had it down pat. And the show starts up, and I start talking. I get 2 minutes into my speech, and I had people messaging me saying, we don't hear anything. So I'm freaking out. So I'm like, okay. And I went, and I pushed the button again, and I started talking. Nothing. 3 times I went through this. So I have no idea what I was doing wrong. But I'm glad you're here. Because, without you here, I would still just be rambling on talking, but nobody would be able to hear me, and it would just be, it'd be pretty embarrassing. So.
Yeah, well, there's only one thing I can say about that.
Oh, Lord.
There you go.
I tried. I did.
Well, like I say, it's quite clear who the talent is, but, which is...
I like to think of it as it's the James and Xtina show, so it would not be, a show without either one of us. So that's
I to be fair, I have said this on many occasions. If it wouldn't be a show without you, and no, bullshit. It's like you organise everything. There'll be nothing. There'll be no guests. No, I wouldn't know what was going. I very rarely know what's going on at the best of times anyway. But
I thought it was so funny when I said something about I'll put it in the book. You're like, I didn't even know there was a book.
I did not know. I thought that was like a metaphysical book, and then there is actually a book. Oh well, you surprised me that day. You really did.
Yeah, I have written down all the guests we've had, and So I have that all. I'm not organized in a lot of things, but I think that the Panic Room I take pretty seriously, so it's organized well.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of those things that it's because I guess because of how we are on the air. It's all fun and frivolous and all the rest of it, but it people, they just don't understand. They just don't understand. No. It is a serious part of the business, I have to say. But let's not spoil it. Let's not spoil the illusion.
Right.
We just turn up and just sort of blather on about pedophiles and Donald Trump. And not that those two subjects are mutually exclusive, I hasten to add, but come on, the guy has openly said that he fancies his daughter, quote unquote. You know, if she's hot, you know, and if she wasn't his daughter, he'd be banging her. I mean, I can't imagine. I have two daughters. I'm a father of two daughters. I would never dream, certainly not on camera. I'd never dream of saying that to anyone. What? No.
No, like I can look at my son.
No.
I can look at my son and think, wow, he's a handsome boy, you know. But I can't imagine, wow, he's hot. No, that just gives me kind of shivers in a really gross kind of way.
You'd never be, oh, you know, he's well on my lad. Where, you know, you just don't. Trump has no barriers, certainly when it comes to that. I mean, the whole grab him by the pussy thing was just like,
oh, God.
Again, how is that? Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to do that.
Grab him by the pussy.
You know what uranium is, right? It's a thing called nuclear weapons and other things. Like lots of things are done with uranium, including some bad things.
And how's this for a segue? Speaking of uranium or enriched uranium, for example, I watched the first episode of it's a HBO miniseries, Chernobyl, which is a dramatization of the Chernobyl disaster. And I wholeheartedly, in fact, here we go. We haven't pressed this button. Here we go. Let's do this.
Oh, hey. Looks like it's time to review something. Oh, no.
Oh, no. I love that guy. I missed him. Oh, no. I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Yes, I've seen the first episode. I think the second one is out. It's just fantastic. You know, it's just the human stories behind, you know, the Chernobyl disaster. And it's funny enough, actually, when that happened, I was working in agricultural sale. I used to sell chemicals to farmers, basically, and I was working up in the up around Cumbria, around the Lake District area, up that way, which is kind of high and whatever. And it did actually hit the chunk of the radioactive cloud hit. Didn't think much about it at the time, but lamb was suddenly very, very cheap. I still have to count my kids' fingers and toes. They've just got the requisite amount, but. Because it gets fit the farmers because it hit the high ground. Before they could take the sheep to market, they had to bring them down from the high ground to lower pastures to get the radioactive out of their. Again, it was trace amounts, but it was enough to have made them unsellable. So like a month before market, they had to bring them down to lower ground to feed until it got out of their system. So, but yeah, we ate a lot of lamb. It was like a leg of lamb was like, they're giving them away pretty much. I used to deal with sheep farmers, and a lot was struggling because the price of lamb, price of sheep just went down the toilet. I think the government had to step in and subsidise it in some areas. It was that bad. So, but yeah, if you fancy a good bit of human drama based on fact, whatever, then I would wholeheartedly recommend it. You know, it's not all horror with us. You know, it's not just, you know, I like, for me, I like I like good writing, you know, whether it's horror, whether it's drama, biopics, whatever. I like good writing, especially something that's relatable like that. So there you go. So anyway, you're our next guest. So I presume you want the chair. Here we go. Let's do. Might as well. Here we go. So you get to load it up as a guest now. It's just kind of odd.
Weird. Yeah,
it is weird. So, hey, Xtina is here to talk to us about her book, Without the Confines of My... Which, to be fair, and anyone who listens to the show, you know my feelings about poetry. Now, this doesn't even rhyme.
No. Hey, you know, it does too. The title? It doesn't
rhyme. So, Xtina, obviously the burning question that everyone listening wants to know is why?
Okay, well, let's see. I have always rhymed. I love rhyming poetry. For me, the free verse just didn't. To me, it was like, okay, that's just, you know, a line or two. That's just a thought or whatever. And it never spoke to me ever. So I would, you know, see something that wasn't rhyming, and I wouldn't even read it. I wouldn't even bother with it. But I did. I read.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, you know, looking at non-rhyming poetry, it's a list, isn't it?
Well, you know what? I thought that as well. I really did. And a lot of times that's how it feels to me. I actually somebody had they bought me a book of poetry that was non-rhyming, and I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is, you know, there's 2 words on this line. There's 1 on this one. It makes no sense. There's no kind of anything." I mean, like, I thought it sucked. I really did. And that was pretty much my thoughts on poetry that didn't rhyme. But last year I read, I was gifted an advanced reader's copy of a book of a Facebook friend of mine, R.B. O'Brien. And I loved it. There were so many beautiful poems in there that spoke to me. I was like, this is really cool. If I could do this, you know, then that was my thought. I wonder if I can do this. And then I you know, started writing, you know. I gave it, in the first couple, I look back now on the first couple, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, and I shared that with people. I mean, it was so bad. It really was. But it was so fun. It was fun. And, you know, the idea...
I have to say... you know, I'm delighted that you're writing again, to be honest with you, even though you can't be asked to rhyme anything. But it's great. You do have a way with words, which is, as a writer, is obviously always valuable. Although having said that, you know, we do come across a lot who don't have a way with words.
Oh, dear Lord.
I was no names, no pack drill, dealing with the guy, because I do sort of editing, ghostwriting on the side. And I actually said to the company that I did this for, I said, you know, some people really ought to have their word processors taken away from them.
Yes, yeah. I know.
It's a case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, really.
Yeah,
you know, if you
exactly.
And so one of the things, I mean, I always try to mentor and certainly young upcoming writers and anyone who's really wanting to learn the craft. And I came across one recently. I was trying to help, and he said basically could not be asked to learn punctuation and proper English. And so, well, it's like I've said before, it's like I want to be a car mechanic, you know, with a spoon. You've got to learn the trade. You have got to learn the trade. You've got to learn how to use the tools. You've got to learn the craft. You've got to do, and you do that by just doing it, you know. And yeah. But that comment doesn't apply to you. I mean, I would never admit it to your face, but I am quite a fan of your writing, to be honest. Even though I send you my books and you can't be asked to read them. But
I have though. I read all of Colton. I read all of Tenebrian, and I want to read Flanagan really bad, just because, you know, I know what it's about and it sounds really good. And
I can't believe you haven't read Flanagan yet. That is totally right up your alley. That pardon the expression.
You know, it's hard to find any time to read for pleasure when you read for work.
I know.
Yeah, and I do want to give a quick shout out to a writer who I am such a fan of his work now. And I'm going to butcher the title here because I can't remember what the title was. It was the sequel to Sangre, The Color of Dying. And what was it called?
The Wrong Side of Tomorrow by Carlos Corn.
Yes.
It is fucking awesome.
I'm telling you, I didn't read The Color of Dying. You know, I have it, but I have not read it. And I read the sequel, and I can't wait to read the.
You have to read it. I fell in love with that with Nikki, the character,
awesome.
and with Carlos. It's just, there's something about Carlos's style that it's just again. You know, we were saying about Stephen King. It just draws you in and carries you along, and you get roped into the guy's family, and he throws in a memory. It's just he's got such a style. You know, it's
I love it.
The sequel is phenomenal.
Yeah. Even as dark as, you know, some of the moments are and some of the things that are going on, and then Nikki's got this little sense of humor that just, you know, I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's funny and it's
but again, without spoiling, there's a particular, it's a pivotal moment in Sangre that just literally I had to read it twice, took my breath, because it was just like what? Just like, what? And it really was. I mean, yes, it was a pivotal moment in the book, but it just came out of nowhere. Did not see that coming. It's like, wow, you know.
Yeah, the ending.
But anyway, for anyone who's just dialed in, obviously, welcome to the Carlos Colon Appreciation Show.
You know what, you talked about, you know, good writing, and there's just so much writing. There's so many things out there that are just, they're mediocre. They're you know, and a lot of times I find that it's either amazing writing, but yet the story's kind of weak, or, you know, the story's amazing, but the writing's kind of weak. And I just have to say that with, you know, Carlos's writing, it was all there. You know, everything was right there, and the characters, everybody was so, you know, three-dimensional instead of so. It was just great. I can't recommend his stuff enough. I can't. So
well, the sequel, The Wrong Side of Tomorrow, is out early next month, actually. So,
woo!
It is imminent. It is imminent. It's all almost good to go. So that's one to look forward to. So anyhow, we were supposed to be talking about you, aren't we?
Oh gosh! You know,
without the confines of my rhymes, which again is a nice little juxtaposition, because that actually does. It's the only part of the book that does rhyme. So what? Tell us about the inspiration for the whole thing. If you want, I mean, if you can't be bothered, I mean, just say so, and we'll talk about something else. I mean, you know, it's up to you, really.
Just, you know, I wanted to see if I could do it. You know, like I said, there was an author friend of mine who put out a book that I thought was really good, and so many of the poems touched me. And I just wanted to know if I could do it, because I had always rhymed. And the first time I tried, like, you know, I sat down, I wrote a line, and then I wrote the next line, and then I was rhyming. I'm like, no, I have to stop doing that. But and I think that was, you know, the idea behind the title, you know, Without the Confines, was because that once you're not confined, and you know, I hate saying it like that because I love my rhymes, I really, really do. But there are certain times that you're put into a box almost because you are rhyming, and that's all, you know. So when you don't have that, you know, that limit, you know, anything at all can come next. And I don't know. I think that there are definitely certain free verse poets out there that you know, I can't connect with, and I read it, and sometimes I think people try too hard to make symbolism, or, you know, something, or, you know, this has two meanings or something like that, and there's none of that with my stuff. There really isn't. What you see is what you get.
What you see is what you get, yeah.
Yeah, I like to be very, and I don't use big flowery words. You know what? I know the freaking words, but I also, when you read my stuff, I don't want you to have to keep a thesaurus next to you at the same time.
Or even a dictionary. I mean, either one. But I'll tell you, I actually got something there from Pete, funnily enough, my giant centipede, which is probably one of my favourites actually, because he eats creature books, which is always my first love with horror, which again you haven't bothered to read. But I actually got criticised for using big words. This is obviously trying to impress. Well, no, I have a vocabulary, which again back to what I said about tools of the trade, and I use it. I don't dumb down. I use, and I don't do it deliberately. Those are the words. And like we said again, when we said with Jay, it sometimes it has to be. It will only ever be that word. It has to be that word. But I refuse to dumb down. I like that. My reader has to think a little bit, and I'm not too embarrassed to sit and if I come across a word that. In fact, funny enough, when I was reading Stephen King's the Kennedy one, the 26/11 or 11/26/63 thing, obdurate. He mentioned obdurate a couple of times, and I did not know what that meant.
Yeah, I don't know either. So
time is obdurate, and it means resistant to change.
Oh wow!
There you go.
Yeah, I think the difference is between some of the writing that I see out there. It reminds me of do you remember the episode of Friends where Joey has a thesaurus and he's every single word. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I'm reading things, I'm like, okay, they have no idea how to use that word or what they're doing. But it is different when I'm reading something that you've written, because you're not putting on airs. You're not trying to sound smarter than you are. This is actually how you talk. And anybody who knows you would know this.
That's the thing. Yeah, like I say, so somebody actually criticised the Hellbound website, and they use this word and that word, and like you say, that's exactly. I wrote it, and I wrote it.
Yeah.
And I don't make this shit up,
Right.
But like you say again, I'm working on a book at the moment, editing somebody's book, and they're just throwing these words in, and they're just the wrong word. Yeah. It's just totally. It's obviously a great word, but it's just totally not even just out of context. It's the wrong word. Really? Buy a dictionary. You don't just you've got one on your phone. I've got a Merriam-Webster app on my phone. I will look things up. And don't be embarrassed to do that. But anyway, this is your line. I'm dying to hear more. So, do you have an excerpt? I know you have. I know you've got one, so you're not going to wriggle out of it because I've got it in front of me. I would love for you to regale us with your poetry that doesn't rhyme.
Exactly. It's funny. I can get on the show and talk for 90 minutes, and I am fine. I don't even sweat it at all. But thinking about reading my own stuff, I'm getting a little nervous here. So, and I don't think I've ever read.
If you'd rather do 11 questions or something, we could do that. But I would love to hear you read your poetry.
Definitely, I will give it a shot. The first one I wanted to read was probably one of my favorites, and it's called Little Things. It's the little things. Sunbathing on an old blanket, threadbare but soft, while tapping my foot to the beat of the drums from some 90s grunge song I still know all the words to. It's the little things, feeling the warmth of the breeze gliding over my skin, kissing me here, where my skirt rides high on my thighs, and there, where my exposed navel peeks through because of a missed button on my oversized blouse. It's the little things, laughing at stories as I reminisce with an old lover, and the warmth it brings to my heart to hear he never stopped loving me. It's the little things. I think that's sweet. I do. It was one of my favorites.
Sweet. I think it's got bare thighs in it, which kind of appealed to me. So.
I like a belly button. Actually, I think my favorite part of that was, talking about the 90s grunge song, because I had people going, what song was it? And I'm like, oh, you'll never know, you know. It's a and I actually had somebody tell me that they thought I should have included what song it was, but, you know, I think it's better not know.
No, again, this is back to let the reader use their imagination a little bit.
Thank you.
Because everybody who was into that sort of rubbish, for me, good music finished in sort of 1980. So, but you know, people will their mind will. Everybody will have something different, and that's what I like about stuff like that. You know, again, it's so relatable. You know, everybody's had a moment like that, and it is about the little things. I like that. It's kind of go on, do the next one. Do the next one.
Okay, the next one I have here is called I Need Nothing.
Yeah, go on.
And actually, a story behind this one. Back at the old house that I lived in, actually the apartment. I used to walk. You know,
not the trailer. Not the trailer.
Not the trailer, you know, no, not the trailer. But it was, I know. But it was but I used to walk all the time, and there was this one house that I would go by, and there was this old couple that was sitting out. They sat out on their porch, and they were holding hands, and it was just the sweetest thing. And I'd waved. Okay, anyway, so the poem is called I Need Nothing. It says, each week I drive past this old trailer. The porch sags. It's in dire need of a fresh coat of paint. The grass is slightly overgrown, and the car in the driveway hasn't moved in years. 2 rocking chairs side by side, no table in between. An old couple sit, holding hands, even in the July heat. I make up names for them sometimes. Is she an Edith, maybe a Martha, and he must be Stanley, perhaps Philip. I wave when I drive past and hope someday this is us, sitting side by side, holding hands even in the July heat, on a porch that's seen better days, looking at a lawn that we're too old to properly care for, while every day is still perfect because I need nothing but you.
Oh, got a little tear in my eye on that one. That was really sweet. That's really sweet.
What happened to the dark poet princess? You know, what happened?
Well, you know, what is it? No, I mean, it's about tapping into emotions, I think, and you said when you wrote dark musings, you're in a dark place. You're now in a happier place, and that's what sort of comes out, which is really sweet.
You know, and that is one thing I am so excited about this book, because there were some moments, you know, that it's almost like an artist who would paint, you know, and decide to, you know, capture this moment or something. A lot of the poems in this book are exactly that. I had some, you know, something, some emotion or some feeling or something I just wanted to capture, and this is how I did it. So, and the last one I wanted to share was, and this one, I think some people make it or think it's more sad than it actually is, and I guess possibly it could be, but it's called Already Gone. Says, I stared through the lens of my camera, frozen. He lay sleeping, one hand under his cheek, the other flung over the side of the couch, breathing deep. Soft snores here and there, so handsome, beautiful even. He doesn't realize my heart beats to the rhythm of the blood in his veins. I wanted to preserve this moment, freeze time, capture it, so that it can never be forgotten. But then I blinked, and the moment was already gone.
Oh.
Now, see, the bad thing, you know how we talk about the inspiration striking in the weirdest places? Well, the idea for that I got was from a TV show I used to watch. It was called 6 Feet Under. And the one girl, Claire, she was, you know, she said something about she wanted to take a picture of something. And somebody's whispering in her ears, you know, the moment that, you know, you can't take a picture of this because it's already gone. And that just made me so sad. It did. Because, I mean, it's true. You know, I mean, you do have, you know, these moments that happen. And at the time you're experiencing them, you're like, this is so wonderful. This is so, you know, beautiful or something. And then it's gone. And that's it. I mean, you could recall, you can bring it to mind. You can look at pictures. But it's gone. And
the moment is gone, yeah. It's one of those things, you know, again, I've heard it say, you know, people these days, you know, they live their life through the lens of their phone. You know, and they miss the moment. They're that busy, focused on trying, you know, but they will miss the moments. And, you know, I sort of, it's funny enough, it was actually, my little girl was doing cheerleading, and it was actually her cheer coach said, you know, just, everybody's up there, we've got the phone, trying to film it and everything, just put your phone down and just enjoy the moment. Watch, and that really was a lesson for me, and I do that more now. I would just thought, it doesn't matter if I didn't get a picture, because I've experienced that moment. Because you know, you've got, how many phones have you got on your I'm sorry, how many photographs have you got on your phone right now? I mean, I've got literally thousands. I'll never look at them. I've got them all archived on my phone, on my computer, and they're all backed up and everything. And I don't see I'd ever have time to go through all those, you know. And but you experience the moment. You've experienced it, and it stays with you. Certainly, moments like that.
Funny thing.
All you bothered about was getting a picture. You'd have missed it.
Yeah. Funny thing you were saying about you know, living your life through the screen or whatever. Me and the boyfriend, when we were at the Kiss concert, you know, he spent time, you know, filming some of it, and then he was like, wait a minute, you know, I'm right here. What am I doing? I'm not looking at what's going on. I'm looking through the screen. So he had to, like, make a, you know, so here he is putting his phone away to make sure he's, you know, and I'm like, what are you doing? Why aren't you filming that? You know, so.
Well, if you want a film of Kiss performing, you can buy a Kiss concert DVD. You know, they'll probably sell them on the way out. You know, so. But no, I mean, you go and you enjoy that moment, not looking at it through a little screen, you know. And there's too much of that these days, and maybe I'm sounding old now, but.
You know, it's also, we were at the zoo not too long ago with my daughter, and because, you know, she's 21 now, and she, of course, they know everything at that age, and she actually does spend all of her time on her phone. As a matter of fact, you know, I will text her, I will message her, and nothing for days. And I'm like, are you alive still? You know, I mean, if you don't get me on Facebook in 2 days, you better, you know, call the police. You know, hey, if you don't get me in a half a day, you better call the police, you know. So, you know, I try to, anyway, so we're at the zoo, and me and the boyfriend are on our phones, and my daughter looks back, and she's like, oh, you guys are like 14-year-olds. So, you know, she's talking to us like that because she's, you know, she's so much more mature than we are. I like my phone. You know, if we had done the 11 questions, that was, you know, what's your guilty pleasure? My answer was going to probably be social media, because, you know, I feel guilty because I spend so much time on social media, but yet, you know, any time I'm even a tiny bit bored for whatever reason, here comes Facebook, or, you know, so. I we mentioned it earlier, you know, I only ever do it. I get involved in it for business, you know. To be fair, I keep in touch with a couple of my old school buddies on Facebook, and it's nice for that, you know. And again, it's just to see what, you know, just say hi, and really, you know, happy birthday, that sort of thing. But no, I don't live. Twitter is a bit of a mystery to me, you know, which is why we have Savannah, God bless her, actually runs Twitter for us, and Instagram, and fuck knows what else we're on, all other things, as Trump would say, many things. Good things.
Good things. But they're good, you know, for business. LinkedIn, that's something I'm actually sort of getting to grips with LinkedIn a little bit, and that, again, for business, it's okay, but yeah, it's all a bit.
And a lot of the kids these days, Instagram is the big thing too. Yeah, people like Instagram.
Again, I think we're on Instagram, I believe. There's Snapchat, and literally every other day I get an email through one of these, you know, some protect your kids, and, you know, there's one, it's called Musical.ly, and they changed it, it's called TikTok now, where the kids literally post little clips of themselves singing and doing that sort of thing. And she was big on it when it was, and it was great because that's all it was. And then, rather under the radar, they snuck in a chat room.
Oh yeah.
Nobody. I only found out because I read this and I thought, shit, there's a chat room, and then I actually disabled the chat on my daughter's because it says literally full. I'm going back to back. Tonight's show is brought to you by the letter P for pedophile. It's absolutely crawling with sad old men trying to pick up young girls, and it's like, right, okay. That one I did. I went in and using the magic of technology, I managed to disable the chat. So.
Yeah,
but,
I remember.
I think it's more important to just have these conversations with your kids. There's people out there who will hurt you. You do not give any personal information out or tell people where you are or anything like that. At least it sort of catalyzes those conversations, which I think are very important these days.
I just looked at the time. We have like minutes left, and you didn't get heads up or anything that it was time to go. Maybe I should made the show longer tonight. A whole 2 hours or something. But
we should have done because you're on, obviously.
But I know I'm excited though. My book Without the Confines of My Rhymes is going to be live tomorrow. So everybody buy it.
So hey, where can we? To be fair, it has been available for pre-order for those in the know for the past day or two, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
So tell us where can we find it, Xtina?
We can find that. Can we find that anywhere, basically? Well, definitely can find it on our website, the Hellbound Books website. It's on Amazon and other places, right? It's on other places.
It's to be fair, it's Amazon and obviously Kindle Unlimited to start. We sort of run them for 90 days on Kindle Unlimited, and then they go out into the wide world of Google Play and iBooks, whatever it is. So, but yes, congratulations on yet another fantastic poetry book. I don't often get excited about poetry, but this one I shall make an exception. So I shall expect a signed copy in the post.
Definitely.
So I'm afraid we have to say goodnight. It's that time we have to say goodnight, Xtina.
Good night, Xtina.
Good night, Xtina.